wrapped on Christmas Day on Disney Plus. We're starting to get more of that Disney Plus content. WandaVision in 2 more weeks, Dave. Soul. Disney's Soul. Disney Pixar Soul, I should say. Pete Docter,
Mm.
known for being the manipulator of all of our emotions growing up. Um, or at least being a part of them. At the helm of this one. And Soul, I don't know. I guess I'll let you kind of take the lead with this. Because I've been interested to hear. Did you like Soul?
Did like Soul. Did like Soul. Going in, I knew it was the next Pixar film from Pete Docter, as you said, who has since been elevated to the CCO of Pixar. He's effectively the main creative voice at Pixar now, with since John Lasseter's disgraced exit.
Mm.
And you look at that CV; he's been involved with many of them, but he's directly created Monsters Inc., Up, Inside Out, and now Soul. And it's like, wow, it's quite the run. And
Yeah.
seeing that it's like his specific follow up to Inside Out and thematically has a lot to do with Inside Out was notable, and knowing that going in, I think was interesting. And I can't help but think about Inside Out a lot when I watch Soul because of how they do things differently. And yeah, I did like it. I think Soul is intentionally more vague than Inside Out, but both of the movies, like presenting these like abstract ideas in like a tangible physical way. Like you see again, like you see the inside of someone's brain and all their emotions, or you see literally the manifestation of someone's soul. Like you see these things physically presented. I do feel like it kind of tells you what to think a lot. Like I
Mhm.
like Inside Out a lot. I don't like it as much as everyone else because I think it's kind of like it's writing everything on the chalkboard of how you're supposed to watch it because you literally know what the emotion is, like who they are. Like it's really, I feel like it's kind of simple, but it's still like really impressive at the same time. And for me, because Soul's like more vague, I guess I appreciate it more. Like I was thinking, like when you watch the montage at the end for the character, you're watching, I'm like, oh wow, okay, well, this is kind of deep. I don't really know how I should take this one. Whereas for Inside Out, I feel like it was very specific of how you were supposed to feel, like what you were supposed to think at the end.
Yeah, that's interesting because I do think there's parts of Inside Out that are a little bit more nuanced than just like this is sad or this is angry, and you kind of see that at the end with like the core memories being mixed with sadness and joy and
Hmm.
all the different feelings. But uh, yeah, I do think this is a one of those headier Pixar movies, and I was kind of left as I finished it, just kind of wondering how this would really connect with children. And I've seen mixed
Right.
comments online where some kids I think really enjoy it, and certainly when they're in the I guess it's the afterlife or the pre-life or whatever it is, the
The
great
Great
beyond,
Before.
great before. Um, they're these cute little. You can see them right on Dave's screen. Cute little like I don't know globby looking things, ghosts maybe. And then once they are, but then once they're on Earth, they look so realistic as humans. I guess one is a cat for a lot of the movie, so I guess there's
Right.
like certain parts that maybe kids will mesh with
Hijinks.
more. But this is really a Pixar movie for adults. Like this feels very much like this was made for that generation that grew up with these movies. And I think while something like Inside Out you mentioned um, is a movie that can I think it hits more for adults on a lot more levels, but for kids, you watch and you can explain the movie to them in
Yeah.
you know
There's just way
it's
more humor in Inside Out.
right. And this is a lot more an introspective and thoughtful movie, and definitely interested to see how kids connect. But I definitely connect a lot with it, and it really made me reflect a lot on kind of what it is that we all get caught up on it and what we're missing just in our
Mm.
day-to-day lives, and that rat race we're on to succeed or move forward. We're kind of missing those little things that do make life colorful and fun. And definitely I mean I didn't end up crying at this movie, which I was kind of surprised at. I kind of expected to
Mm.
have that one big weeping moment. I don't know if you kind of got teary-eyed or not, but I didn't feel like it hit that hard emotionally, but just more thoughtful.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing because like the conclusion that like the beginning of the movie, like, or the middle of the movie, like you're thinking, oh, gotta find my spark. What's my spark? So I know
Right.
what I'm supposed to do, and I can then go and finally accept going to Earth, right, and starting a life. And like
Mhm.
then the movie gets to the point where like, oh, there is no spark. Like in like it's like your purpose is just to want to live. Like it is like way more simple and still abstract. And I'm like, huh, interesting.
Mhm.
Whereas I feel like with Inside Out, it's like, oh, it's okay to be sad sometimes. Like, oh, okay, yeah, I got that. Okay, gotcha. And I feel like for a lot of people, that's a great thing to have here in mainstream entertainment that see how they've struggled with something like that, see that expressed. Whereas really like a Soul, I don't know if like Soul is super serving to anyone besides just like whimsical adults, you know?
Right.
And like as you said for the kids stuff, like the hijinks of like an adult being in a cat's body and how that unfolds, like some body humor. Apart from that, like and like the souls bouncing around when you're in the great before, like I really wonder like what the kids like about it because obviously thematically they really have no clue what's going on.
Right.
Um, but at the same time, I think this is some of the best like 3D CGI we've got from
Oh,
Pixar in a while, specifically the stuff in New York. Like New
yeah.
York felt really fully realized in a great way, like some subtle New York stuff, just like kind of like being in like Lower Manhattan and like a really funny Nick's joke, like the New York the pizza rat cameo,
Yeah.
like the New York stuff was good.
Yeah,
So
the subway
mhm,
was like breathtaking. Like how they kind of got that so perfect, the look and feel of it. I loved how they kind of put it in sepia tone. It was like a late autumn type feel
sure,
to it a lot of the time. I thought that was really cool, and uh, I think the interesting thing. I mean, I know you had um, what's his name? The guy who was like the bad guy. I can never pronounce how they
Terry
say his name. Terry, but the actor Richard Ayoade.
Ayoade, yes,
Yeah,
comedian,
um, he he's a he's not really that bad of a guy. Like there's no real
yeah,
antagonist besides like the fact that Jamie Foxx's Joe dies. You know, and he needs to
yeah.
get back to his body, and I think
That's the conflict is death.
right, and that's a really heady thing to be working with, and um, I definitely found certain moments a little bit more engaging than others. One portion that I found particularly engaging was Graham Norton as Moonwind, and the
Hmm.
whole his whole thing
Yeah,
as like the spiritual uh, guide or pirate or whatever he is. I forgot exactly, but I found that to be very interesting. Graham Norton also just an amazing voice actor. I don't know if you've ever like watched his interviews, but he's a
yeah,
really
he's awesome.
awesome, yeah, great talk show host and just shows out in this. I also really liked the scene where they've kind of switched bodies at this point, and Joe's student comes and Tina Fey's in his body and kind of he coaches her how to like
Hmm.
go through the and play the part, and that kind of awakens 22 a bit to like,
Yeah,
oh, this is like a very cool thing about life.
yeah. Shout out Kemp Powers who co-directs this movie and also wrote the film. We'll be talking about him soon because he also wrote One Night in Miami and Soul. Kemp Powers, the first African American to co-direct a Pixar movie. Soul, the first African American to be a protagonist in a Pixar movie. That in itself is notable, but also you think about the best. I think it's some of the best scenes are like aspects of black culture, like
The
the
barbershop.
camaraderie at the barbershop,
Yeah.
or even like his relationship with his mom and her coworkers. Like
Hmm.
that's a scene that the mom scene, when he gets the suit and it's like that's like a really deep scene, like a really like sad scene, I think for adults. Also like moves the plot along. Um,
Yep.
and like
Yeah.
it's funny like again like thinking about soul like I feel like what people do lots in the meta nature of Pixar is think about like oh it's a movie for really adults that also entertains the kids and like in the case of Soul we're walking back from death like the death happens really early on I think almost like in your face how quick it is. Whereas stuff like Coco, it's like we're getting to the death at the end, right? So
Yeah.
like, and this was a new tact for Pixar and for Pete Docter to like attempt to do this in a different way. Um, and also like the presence of jazz throughout the movie,
Hmm.
and like good stuff. And even like the like the you have Angela Bassett as like the saxophone player, just completely overqualified for this like small role, but like
Yeah.
heck, like I feel like everyone can sympathize with that play. It's like, oh, like you had these like creative dreams, you didn't quite ever have a chance to get to that point. And again, like it's followed up with the barbershop scene where he's talking to the barber who had wanted to be a veterinarian, but he doesn't
Hmm.
mean he's sad about where he's at. He's quite the opposite, right? And it's like again, like bec- it's kind of telling you exactly how to feel along the way, but it's still like I think a really warm, effective feeling. So, but
Hmm.
again, I was most impressed with the end montage where like you're watching that like realization of like the
Yeah.
life's journey and all that stuff, and then like because you can apply this to yourself in terms of like purpose and your spark and whether you
Hmm.
need a spark or not, right? It's like because it's more ambiguous at the end. I think that's why I like it the most.
Yeah. No, I think it's definitely a very well done movie. Even if it didn't necessarily reach my very lofty expectations for it, I don't consider this a disappointment at all. I think this is definitely one of the best movies of the year. Shout out to your guy Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, who I think turned in a really great score for
Kings
this
of
as
scores
well.
at this point.
For real, they well, and also we didn't talk about it with Tennant, but um, it's the same guy that did the Mandalorian, Ludwig.
Ludwig Göransson.
Yeah, Goranson, and he's been killing it as well. They're probably the top two in the game right now. Those
Yep,
composers. So,
definitely.
um, yeah, I think overall just an achievement from Pixar. They just continue to be the most consistent
Yep.
studio for sure.
Yeah, it seems pretty likely that it'll be nominated for Best Picture. It's at least on the bubble right there. Uh, Pour one out for Wolfwalkers, which is just going to get its clock cleaned for Best Animated Feature. Um,
Yeah,
I know there's some fans that really would want Wolfwalkers get the win, but I just don't think it's happening when you have an animated movie like Soul that is operating on like a higher level by just thematically just being interested in more adult stuff. Like when you
yeah,
do that in animation, you're just gonna attract more admirers. That's not Wolfwalker's fault, but that's just what happens when you get a good Pixar movie in your way.